Welcome to the story of immortality. You're about to enter a magical world. We invite you to savor the feeling of peace, love, and wisdom as it opens your eyes to your true self, to reality itself. The sessions are designed to uplift you as you access the subtle, eternal spiritual universe that moves within this physical world. To take maximum benefit from this series, we recommend the following important tips. Sit in a quiet place where you can be alone for an hour. We ask you to take this time out and be with yourself with no distractions. Sit with your spine straight, either in a comfortable chair or on the floor. This will ensure that the energy flowing in your body will support what you're hearing. Keep your phones in silent mode and away from you in another room for the whole hour. We encourage you to keep your camera on. Our experiences taught us that other participants will be inspired to see you. We will record these sessions. Only the speakers and not the participants will be recorded. 5 languages are available for translation. To select a language, click on the interpretation button, and then you can opt for Hindi, Spanish, French, Telugu, or Tamil by clicking on one of them. This is our registration link. It is not mandatory, but if you would like to receive the recordings and other information, then do register.
Om Shanti. Welcome to the story of immortality. Today's episode 6, the Supreme Soul. So now we will see the flow of today's program, and then Sister Shireen will be with us and she will introduce us today's guest speaker. Om Shanti.
This program, The Story of Immortality, will enlighten you through insights, visuals, and meditations. We will begin soon with 15 minutes of sharing with a senior teacher. Then Sister Shireen or Sister Dorothy will make a 30-minute presentation, interspaced with 2 meditations that unwrap the book. Lastly, we will address questions from participants for 10 minutes. Warm greetings, everyone. Om Shanti, greetings of peace. I am very happy to be here with all of you today, and I'm even happier to introduce you our very special guest. They're all special. Each one is more special than the next. Our senior teacher, Sister Veronica. She lives in Miami, and she coordinates the activities of the Brahma Kumaris in Florida. I'm laughing because she will not like me giving her introduction like this. She has been with the Brahma Kumaris. Actually, let me put it this way. She has been following the teachings and practicing the teachings of the story of immortality for the last more than 45 years. Do not mean to date you, Wadi Ben, but we affectionately call her Wadi Ben, and so here she is.
Hello, good morning, Shireen.
Hello. And so we have, Wadi Ben has very many wonderful stories, and I affectionately call her my boss. And so I have a question for you about your first experience of God. Okay, any experience of God, like the first few experiences of God.
Okay, in relation to coming to the Brahma Kumaris, right, and coming to learn meditation.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I had arrived at that point in my life where I knew that all my travels and meanderings around the planet were not just for no reason, but that I was actually the soul, the depth of my soul knew. Consciously, I didn't know it then, but the soul always knew that I was seeking, I was searching. And of course, if I was searching, then it means I'd lost something. And likewise, I didn't know it then, but I was searching for what had been lost, and knowing that I'd had it at one time, the possibility of retrieving it. And so when I came to the Brahma Kumaris, I was in my mid-20s, and really appreciated the things that they were teaching. God was not a favorite word, and sometimes it would be synonymous with the idea of truth or love, but it was that understanding of maybe some bigger kind of or an ultimate kind of an energy. And later I came to know, of course, that the reason I was searching was because I had that at some point in another life in the far distant past. And it wasn't like as if when I came and I took the lessons, which many of you are having now for the first time, wonderful ideas, and all ending with meditation and beautiful vibrations and all of that. But of course, even though something may be the truth, the attempt is squeezing it into something which is very, perhaps, polluted might be a strong word, but polluted by former ideas, disappointments, experiences, deception, all of those things. And so that although I know that the truth of God was there, I couldn't totally perceive it because it had to get through all this sludge, if you like, that had accumulated. And the very first impact, or the very first change for me was in becoming, this might be way off track, but was in becoming a vegetarian. And that was something that I'd always wanted to do, but never had the courage or strength to do. And so that is ongoing, that getting a new way of seeing yourself and then becoming that, going towards that. Now, the actual experience of God, which was beyond, one thing is, yes, somebody gave me the introduction, but just because you tell me that a famous person, you give me all their data, that doesn't mean I have a relationship with them. It's like, okay, you're telling me this is what they are, and this is, and in truth, within the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris, what often fascinates me more than what something is, not least God, it's what God is not. And so, of course, there had been a lot of, ideas. I was brought up happily so within Catholicism in Ireland. And so the things that were being said here were very comforting, because honestly, I really feel at the heart of everyone, if they just went to their own heart and were to try to come up with an idea of God, it would be much more aligned with the reality of God than, say, what we've been indoctrinated to believe. Yeah.
Coming from cacophony of our own mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And but the heart knows that God has to be love. The heart knows that God isn't the one who punishes. But there was many, many more ideas, and you'll meet all of these as you go along. But I had been with the BKs for about 4 months, loved the people, liked the ideas in as far as I could understand them. But even with my friends, my reputation was that of being a doubting Thomas. I would question everything. And so very succinctly, I suppose, knowing the constraints of time, but after 4 months, I had gone to the headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris, Mount Abu, India, and I went on spec. Something in me knew that I had to go to the source to see if this really was ultimately for me. And I love the idea of study, of attempting to answer these profound questions, that there was no ritual, there was no praying, there was no chanting, there was no bowing down to anyone. That the soul knew that, although that may have been in its past, but that epoch had finished. It was now for something new, and it was to do with silence. And even though I was in a gathering of all those people who already realized these things, subscribed, and were living their lives according to these ideas about God, it hadn't hit home for me yet, but I was enjoying the company. And so then one day in meditation, there was a senior yogi in front of me giving, connecting through the eyes. And all of a sudden,
we covered Drishti yesterday.
Did you? Okay, good. So Drishti, it's magical. And it was like there was a laser beam of light coming from their forehead to mine and penetrating. And it was like this light was just filling up all of the spaces in my head. I said it felt like it was red, yellow lava that was warm and intense, and this feeling of love, and of, these words don't do it justice anymore, of love and of bliss. And that even though I'm sitting there, eyes open, not moving, but what was going on inside me was like overwhelming. And then when I started to see these rays of light shooting out from my own self, that's kind of it in a nutshell. But it was like as if afterwards, I don't know how many minutes it went on for, completely outside my realm of imagination. I'm very earthed, and that I couldn't have imagined it, even if I'd tried. And it really, afterwards, it was like as if God was saying to me, or that being, still not too comfortable with the name God, but that supreme being was communicating and saying, okay, Miss Doubting Thomas, there's only one way you're going to get it. He knew that it wasn't going to be through words, because I would come up with an argument or an explanation, that my mind and thinking processes would be engaged. And knowing that for me, it's not the same for everyone, but that it had to be beyond the shenanigans of the intellect or of the mind. And that was intense. And in a heartbeat, not only did all of the information that they'd tried to tell me before, whether about the soul or about time or about God, it just fell into place, slotted into place. And then the determination that I would now become a regular student of the Brahma Kumaris. That was my first experience of God. And
Fabulous.
It sustains me till today.
So I want to ask you a related question, but not totally related. You were talking about the data on God, right? The Brahma Kumari
Yes.
data on God. And, for the last this is the fourth episode. We are talking about God. And so my question to you is, you have been very involved in the Catholic Church. I saw your pictures of your first communion and all of those things.
Confirmation.
Confirmation and things like that. And so what is the parallel? Give us 2 or 3 parallels of what the Catholic, what you learned in the Catholic Church and what you learned in the Brahma Kumaris, where you felt, oh my God, I understand this better.
Oh my goodness. So many things, but I would say the most important thing in Christianity, God notwithstanding, is Christ. And so I would have to say that I came to understand Christ better and really see that one's love for God. And in fact, was an inspiration for me, and that he did teach people that understanding his relationship with the Father in particular. And he said, you too can have this relationship. And so many of the things that he said, that, even like, be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. But nobody pays attention to those things. It's almost like as if, well, he just kind of said them. That was it. But now seeing not only what he meant by it, but that the missing link for all of us, or the missing ingredient, is that relationship that he had with the Father, that gave him that power to be able to speak his truth and walk his truth and inspire others with his truth. And so many things within Christianity, really, I only understood when I came to the Brahma Kumaris, and without which it would be very hard for people to understand, And so the idea, but in particular, it has to come back to this, the importance of the relationship with the Father, and love for humanity, the 2 aspects.
Right. Because it all seems to be lost nowadays, with him being the only son and the only one capable of having a relationship. And they forget, like you're saying, they forget that he said everyone can do this.
That's right.
Right.
Everyone.
And you're right. And also he's right and you're right.
Yes.
If God he is for everyone. Why would he be for 1 or 2 people? He is for everyone. And that's why he's God.
And it's something that Christ had said too, that there would come a time, and I think we're in those times, when people would come to him and they would say, but Lord, we preached you. And he will say, get away from me, I know you not. And so, in other words, that it won't necessarily be those who profess but do not follow the teachings of Christ. And so once being asked, or asking someone, how would they recognize him this time if he came back? And for me, the answer was that he would recognize me, or any of those who are following a path of truth and who are subscribing to the ideals of love for humanity and self-development through a relationship with God.
One last question. And you can be as succinct as you want, or as elaborate as you want. The last question is, right now, after 45 years of doing this, what's your favorite, right now, at this moment, what's your favorite relationship with God?
Oh, that's a hard one. But I would have to say the one which you don't hear so much about in other religions. The Father is there, the friend is there, the mother, the Savior, all of these ideas. But God is my teacher. And I don't just mean in an abstract way, although that is there too, but in terms of that there's a being outside of the universe who knows all and sees all and is really the only one, the only source that can give clarity about the whole story of, what has been referred to as creation may not be used by us in the same way. And so teaching, and then the various methods of teaching, and the quality of God that I always go back to, and of course it's there in the teacher as well as the parent, God's respect. God has so much respect for the individuality of each one. Even though the teacher is teaching the same lesson to all of his children, to all souls, but he's forever mindful of the uniqueness of each one, and teaches accordingly.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're so unique, Wadiven, because you see through God's eyes of everyone's unique. So
well, I trust that they'll also then make allowances for me too. So it's very selfish.
So thank you very, very much for being
my
with
pleasure.
us.
Thank you, Shireen.
And now we have Sister Dorothy, a dear divine Sister Dorothy. She's going to finish our lesson on God. There she is. Welcome, Sister Dorothy.
Thank you, Shireen, and thank you, Wadi, for such a beautiful summary of Baba, of God. And even so, some of the points that you mentioned we're going to cover today, which is very exciting for me, because today we're going over the divine acts of God, and also the things that God doesn't do. So those were two things that you had mentioned. And so the divine acts of God, we have so many misconceptions. And even as a child, I remember that I knew there was always a God, but I wonder what he's doing. I wonder what he does. I even wondered if he was listening to me. Sometimes I thought he was, and sometimes I actually didn't even know if he was listening to me. But today we're going to cover his divine acts and the things that are not his acts. So we will start. The divine acts of God. And there are three main divine acts of God. And he transforms the world through these three powers: the power of truth, the power of purity, and silence. And the power of truth. And when I found God, I really wasn't looking for God either. I was looking for truth. To me, truth was the answer. If I found truth, I would know everything. And so God comes and he gives us the truth. And the first truth, the most important one, is who we are. Why is that so important? Well, if I'm brought up in a world where I'm told that I'm no good, that I'm never going to succeed, I will probably fulfill that prophecy. But if I am brought up in an environment where I'm encouraged and loved, then I will fill that prophecy of success. And so he comes and tells us the truth of who we are, the soul. And within that prophecy of knowing who I am, the soul, is an expansion of all my goodness, my virtues, and my powers. And of course, the power of purity is something that we all need. We know that there is power in purity. And just as there is power in flower essences, when the essences are made from pure environment. And then, of course, the last and also very important is the power of silence. To be able to go deep within my own self, my soul, me, my own soulfulness, not just to know I'm a soul, but to experience myself as the soul. And so he says to us, I'm the creator. And I like to use this word recreator because he just doesn't create the world poof out of nothing, which many people think, but he recreates just as a sculptor would recreate his clay and mold it into the way he wants. This is what God does. He recreates this old decayed world that we all see around us, so much pain, so much sorrow, and he transforms the old into new, the pain into happiness, the impure into pure, and falsehood into truth. These days, we don't know what's true and what's false. We think what's true is false, and we think falsehood is really true. And so he creates a new creation within the old creation. And as you can see on your screen, the old creation, but through educating us, he transforms that into a new creation. So a new creation in which the old world that I'm in, I awaken my consciousness of being the soul and transforming my consciousness through that spiritual birth. And so this is such an important lesson for us to really dwell on. And we'll have a meditation later doing that. And so the powerful creator establishes a link between himself and each soul. And I really love this point because it's me and my creator, me and my father, not a mediator in between. And in that connection with him, he sows seeds of peace and happiness. He begins to color me by his company, his virtues, his powers. And so he is called the purifier, the one who removes all the flaws of souls who are like diamonds. And so he removes the flaws by this meditative process of connecting with that purest energy, but also by following his directions. And as Wadi was saying, yes, he's a teacher and he gives us directions. So not just knowing these things, but being able to walk the talk, to do the things that will transform the world. So he comes at this time to purify the world, to purify humanity from sorrow into happiness. He says his act of purification is to show us the impurity and to teach us, to teach you the method to remove impurities. So if we have impurities in our food and we keep eating that food and that food is keep making us sick or bringing up a certain type of disease, until we move that poison that's in our food, we will still have the impurities and the sorrow that comes with it. So he comes at this time to show us what impurities we have to remove. And those impurities are the vices that live within us: anger, ego, lust, greed, attachment. And so this is the time when we understand that the purifier works through the power of silence. It is absolutely necessary to go into quiet place, a quiet mode, be by yourself, introversion, and close out the old world that's surrounding us and just be with the one. So he purifies not only human beings, but everything around us, the elements, the animals, everything will become pure. Isn't this beautiful? I get so intoxicated just thinking about this. And so this return to a state of complete truth and order. And we can see the disorder that is all around us in the world. And all of us crave order. We crave truth. And so the method we're going to do right now is a meditation. And so sit quietly, make yourself very comfortable. And think about yourself, shedding the awareness, or let's say shifting the awareness of you yourself being a body, a person with personality, but you shifting from body consciousness to your own true soul consciousness, a being of purest divine energy. You, the soul. Focus your attention on the space between your eyes and know that is you. Feel yourself there. Know all your thoughts are coming from that place between your eyes, and you are looking out through the lenses of the eyes. The eyes don't think. It's you, the soul, behind the eyes that are thinking, feeling, and experiencing. So pulling yourself back into your soulfulness, being the observer, watching through the eyes, listening through the ears. But all that information doesn't stay in the eyes or the ears. All that information goes into you, the soul, the spiritual being of light. And your Father, the Father of the soul, is also a beautiful spiritual light. And focus on the image that's on your screen, imaging the Father of your soul as this being, this benefactor being that is radiating the purest love. And with your feelings in your heart, not just your head, but in your heart, let your heart be full. Let the awareness of truth in your heart emerge. I want to know the truth. Connecting with the source of all goodness, the one beyond this world, the one beyond, up and beyond. And we usually go to him when we're in sorrow or need help. But this is a time to go to him just to take is raise, invoke his love. Yes, I want your love. I open myself up to this divinity, this energy of the Supreme Soul, the energy of all goodness, my spiritual Father, the eternal being, and my eternal Father. I soak in that divinity into myself, drinking, invoking that energy into my own being, cleansing the soul, rejuvenating me, regenerating me. Again, drinking. Om Shanti. So I hope you not only liked the meditation, but more importantly, I hope you took benefit in that meditation, took benefit. And we are all at different levels, taking different things, different amounts. And so just be open, because it's when we are open that we will be able to take most benefit. And as we covered in the last session, session number 5, the divine acts of God, of that of being truth, purity, and silence. And so now we're going to look at the acts that God does not do. And this is just as important as the acts that God does. And so there's so many misconceptions that people say about God, and that I myself has said about God, that God is in everything, that everyone is God, or that God is omnipresent. But let's think about this. If God were in everyone, would everyone be in such trouble? Would there be such misery in the world? Would I ever become angry? If I were a God, would I ever become diseased? Well, we see that conception that God is in everything, or that God is omnipresent, doesn't really make sense. So these things are really there for you to think deeply about. Again, which I mentioned in a previous lesson, you are not to just believe these things blind faithfully. Discern, discriminate, and think about these things deeply. Another misconception is that God turns every leaf, that he orders every leaf to do whatever it's doing. But we see that God has more important things to do. And that importance is that he teaches us the right things that we have to do to purify the self and to purify the world, all of humanity. And another big misconception is that God punishes. He does not punish. He's a benevolent God, a loving God. The consequences that one experiences is from one's own actions. Although souls are definitely punished for whatever wrongdoings they've done, that's the law of karmas. No, God does not punish. We punish ourselves by our own choices, our own karmas. And so he comes at this time to teach us rightful actions which will bear righteous returns. So two things. He is our teacher, but also this connection with God. So he purifies us through two ways, by connecting with him and allowing that purity to seep into the corridors of your soul. But also the right teachings, the right method is also very important. And so the teachings come with this. And so some other misconceptions are that he's created these natural calamities. We even call them acts of God. But we know what the acts, the divine acts of God are: truth, purity, and silence. And so, no, these calamities that happen are happening because of the impurities in our world. The world is in a state of complete disorder. And part of that disorder, I must say, is the fact that the world is a reflection of what we've become. But he's known as the innocent Lord. He takes everything old from us, my old habits of anger and ego and untrust and doubt. He takes all of that, and he, as the altruistic server, comes and serves you. He serves me. He has no expectations, so he is totally altruistic. And he gives us knowledge. He says, "You are my children, and I give you knowledge so that we can bring about together world renewal for all his children." He comes and advises us how to become pure and how to radiate that purity. So he emerges the purity that's always been in us, but it's been kind of covered up with a lot of misconceptions and impurities. And he comes as such a benefactor, Father. He brings heaven on the palm of his hand, and he gives us the fortune of heaven. Yes, paradise, the golden age, on the palm of our hands. But now what we do with that hand, we're going to put that information in our pocket and store it there. Well, that's a different matter. So what we do with that information is going to make the difference. He comes to open up our third eye of recognition, to understand, to realize, and become. And his love is untold love. He says things to us like, "You are the jewels of my eyes. You're my long lost and now found children." And he opens our hearts to understand him. And so we will now have this meditation, opening our hearts. So in this meditation, I want you to think about your heart exploding with feelings. Yes, again, remember the reality of your being shifting from body consciousness to you, the observer, the soul, in the space between the eyes and behind the eyes. I am talking to you, the soul, and you, the soul, are listening through your ears. You are watching through your eyes. You use your brain. but it all goes to you, the soul. All the feelings, all the knowledge, and wisdom is being born. Wisdom within you begins to emerge again. You, the soul, moving yourself into the space of taking your attention above this world, through space, through time, to the one who lives beyond this world, beyond space, beyond physical dimension. So think about your thoughts moving upward, upward and outward to the most divine source of perfection, the Supreme Soul, the one who is supreme and who is full of all goodness. Your father, your mother, open yourself up. You have to invoke that energy to come to you. Imagine just rays of light coming over your whole body, showering you with divinity, seeping into every fiber of your body, your heart, and you, the soul, being drenched with divine energy from the Divine One, the Father, the Mother, the Beloved of our soul, your soul. Absorb, invoke, invite, open your mind, open your heart, and let him in. Let him in. Talk to him now in your own words, whatever those words may be in your mind. Is that really you? Are you my father? Am I a soul? For the next few moments, open your mind, open your heart, open your truth. Drink the goodness he has to give. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Sister Dorothy. That was beautiful. I'm sure everyone must have enjoyed. And so now I would like to invite everyone and our two presenters, Brahma Kumari Sister Shireen and Brahma Kumari Sister Dorothy. They will take up those questions and you'll be able to get your answers. So welcome, Sister Shireen and Sister Dorothy.
Thank you, Bhumika.
Shanti. So, Dorothy Van, that was wonderful. And so I have a couple of questions here. The first one, Thank you for your presentation. You said God creates the new creation from within the old creation. Please kindly clarify this statement further.
What a wonderful query. Yes. So just as he changes me from my old self, old Dorothy, with anger, ego, lust, greed, and attachment, he creates a new me of love, peace, purity, wisdom, bliss. And the new creation starts with each of us being the soul, shifting from body consciousness to soul consciousness. And then the whole world is going to change to that as well. Because the world is a reflection of what we are. We see all that nastiness outside. It's because of the nastiness that's been inside humanity.
So the next one, is there an explanation of the assumption that there is only one God and one earth and that humans are the only intelligent life? Then why are there hundreds of billions of galaxies and thousands of billions of stars?
You know, this question, is there only one God? We all have different interpretations of God. And after giving this knowledge to thousands and thousands and thousands, the one question that everyone is in agreement with is that there is only one, even though they think it's their perception of the one or their perception of the one. But everyone always is in agreement. There is only one. And here I am in my room, but there are many things in my room to entertain me. There's my couch over there. I've got elephants on the sills here, and so many things, a fan and lights, and so many things structured around me. And the same with this planet Earth. We live on this planet Earth, and all these other things that are around us are just side scenes. They're part of the environment, and everything that happens, we do have a selectified planet. And actually, this has been proven by science, and I have a wonderful video on this, how this planet is different from any other planet in any other solar system and even any other galaxy. And it's just wonderful to be in the center. It is a perfect place to be, in the center of all the universes and galaxies.
So here's another question. Actually, I'll read the statement first and then the question. Thanks so much, Sister Dorothy. The meditation was so deep and blissful. And then the question is, and from someone else, is, have you or anybody seen God?
Well, can you see me? Can you see me? Let me get closer. You can't see me. I'm invisible. But you experience me through this physical stuff, don't you? God's invisible too. But I have experienced, I've been in his presence. You can be in his presence through practice of this loveful relationship. You know, the first time you went out on a date, you didn't fall all of a sudden madly in love, did you? Sometimes it takes a little bit of a process of falling in love and getting to know that one. And so this too is a process for the newer ones to be able to experience the invisible one to the invisible you.
Fabulous. Thank you, Dorothy Ben.
Thank you, Shireen Ben. And Ben means sister. She's my sister, my spiritual sister.
Actually, we are twins.
We are twins.
Remember when we used to live in
Tell
Tampa?
them why we're twins, Shireen.
Remember when we used to live in Tampa, people used to ask, are you mother and daughter. I'm thinking, do I look like her? But anyway,
No,
side
but I'm
question.
thinking, wait, because that was a really brilliant point you made. We're twins because we look alike. We're both just identical points of light. As a matter of fact, I'm also twins with all of you listeners out there.
Right. So this question, what is your favorite relationship with God?
Well,
Right now.
I too love the teacher. I love the teacher. I take every word that the teacher tells me in our advanced lessons and I practice them, but also companion. So the teacher as a companion. And I really liked this lesson we had recently about just as a shadow never leaves us, our companion should never leave us. So I love this idea of making him my companion, my shadow, the one who's sitting on my shoulder, or just, I love the shadow feeling, you know? And so I've been remembering that since about 2 weeks ago, we had that lesson. And the lessons really even will deepen your experiences of God.
So a couple more statements. Thank you for the beautiful presentation and meditation. And another one, thank you for the explanation on the galaxy. I felt this is the first time I heard truth.
And I wish I could remember the video, the name of the video, something like, and it's wonderful. Science proved that the planet Earth is the only possible place because of where all the galaxies are. A planet Earth is the only place where mankind on the planet can observe himself. No other place can that be. And that was the essence of this whole video. I'll send you the link, Shireen. I think you're very scientific, but you don't need any proof, but it's an interesting.
Right. We're getting questions, but I do have one question of my own. Here, the person who asked you the question about the galaxy said, I like Dorothy's answer. Should I be mentioning names? I didn't want to mention names.
Well, they
asking
don't.
Question.
Yeah.
My question to you is, on a day-to-day basis, what does God do? Like in this moment in time, what do you think God is doing?
Well, he does when I'm remembering him. Okay. So when I'm remembering him, in other words, there's 3 of us now, Shireen, sister, there's you, there's me. And I just brought the vibration of God in. And so what he does is he supports whatever I'm thinking, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm saying, whatever I'm doing, and he's purifying me. But that only happens when and I love this word, invoke, invite. I have to invoke him. It's not that he's up there. It's just with your cell phone, you have to turn it on and tune it up to the application you want. You want WhatsApp, you want email, you want whatever. We have to invoke that energy in.
So after that question, I'm getting several. So maybe 2 more questions and then we stop. So this is the second to last question. If God does not punish, then who punishes us?
Yourself. It's our own karmas. It's our own karmas. If I act mean to someone, that meanness is going to come back to me. And so this is where God teaches us to have a heart and a mind, important mind. Man above. Remember that lesson that Shireen gave? Be mine with your mind. Make your mind as pure as God's mind. Make your actions pure. Make everything about yourself pure. Now, sometimes you might say, well, I've lived a pretty good life, but we're thinking about anger. Have you ever been angry? Have you ever had ego, lust, greed, attachment? All of these come back to us as punishment. Plus, for those that believe in reincarnation, other lives.
Right. So there are two questions in one, and this is the last one. Before coming to spirituality, I had a grudge with God. But now no more. Will God forgive me? Is the first question. And the second question, this is the last question. We're not taking questions anymore. Do you think things happen for a reason or were meant to happen no matter what? Or is it bad luck or bad fate? Is everything due to karma, good or bad?
Okay, the first question was, what was the first one again?
I had a grudge on God. Will he forgive me?
He doesn't have to forgive. He never had a grudge to not forgive. He is always just love. He doesn't forgive. That's never an issue with him. He never gets to the point, in other words, where he forgives. He already loves you ultimately, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter grudge or no grudge. And the other point, I really like this because this was the lesson we had today, that how can we bring every situation that comes to us, bring self-benefit? So even something that seemingly seems bad, how can I take self-benefit from it? Yes, this is what he teaches us. This is how this knowledge proves to me that it's God, because only God can think like this. Even someone's doing something very terrible to me, saying horrible words. What self-benefit can I take from it? Well, I can sit and be a master ocean of peace, no matter what, and give that soul peace and not let the negativity and the rain damper my brilliance. And it makes me even stronger. We were talking this morning about a runner jumping over hurdles and getting stronger and stronger. And so, yes, there's nothing bad. There's good in everything good, and everything bad, there's also good.
All right. So let's finish with a moment of remembrance. Om Shanti, everyone. We forgot to mention about the audio and video. If you go to brahmakumaris.us Story of Immortality, you will there, our website, you will see both the audio and the video. Thank you for joining, and we will see you next Saturday.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Shireen and Sister Dorothy. That was a wonderful session, and we all enjoyed a lot. And I'm sure everyone who is participating must have received a lot and experienced our meditation and also explanation. And yes, as Sister Shireen said, we will like to see you again next Saturday, Sunday. So we finished our 6th episode. So next will be 7th. And here you are seeing on the screen our YouTube channel, email address, register link, and website. And as Sister Shireen mentioned, that the Story of Immortality book, audio and video are available on our website, www.brahmakumaris.org. You can see here on the screen, this is our website, and you'll find here the audio and video link of the Story of Immortality. Thank you. Om Shanti. See you next week.